That's it. And I can say this with a lot of confidence. There isn't a business out there today that doesn't have opportunities that we can help with.
I am not just here to take a royalty. You know, we have always said that we want these brands to change people's lives, right?
If you can't handle validation and research of a brand, how are you going to manage an entire business?
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show where we help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And don't forget, feel free to visit our website, ggthefranchiseguide.com. Click on that, book a call. I'd love to chat with you, answer your questions in regards to business ownership, franchise ownership. If you're potentially a good fit, book a 20-minute call with me today. There's no cost, no commitment, and I would love to help you out in any way we can. Today, I'm joined by industry experts who have helped countless families build franchise empires that last. Whether you're planning to pass your business to the next generation or building your first franchise with legacy in mind, you'll get real-world stories and expert insights right here. Let's dive into what really takes to create a franchise that just doesn't just survive, but thrives for generations. Speaking of areas of improvement for small business, tell us a little bit about Era Group. Who is Era Group? What services do they offer? I guess we'll start there.
So we are the largest cost intelligence consulting firm in the world that probably your guests have never heard of. And what we do, we specialize in reducing indirect costs and improving profitability, saving the people. Because a lot of companies go to the people first, and that's just backwards. We're focused on finding out efficiencies through pricing, process, and policy. And the beauty about our brand, too, is there's such an ecosystem because as people are coming out of corporate world, which they have just the most wisdom, the most experience, or they're being pushed out today, which is why we've come in contact, because you're able to share our brand with them. But we're able to really take that knowledge so that that business owner, those C-suite, can focus on their core business.
Right.
Well, we come alongside them, no pressure, no embarrassment, but to improve their business. And we happen to find a lot for them that allows them to bring in more people, maybe expand their business, increase their technology, that allows them to be more strategic and make better decisions on the growth of their business from our partnership.
I like that. And what did you call it in the beginning? Because we've been working together, and I think that was the first time I've heard this. Did you
The
say
cost intelligence.
Cost intelligence.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. I really like. How come I haven't heard that before? Cost intelligence. That's so cool.
Funny story. A year ago, we changed our branding from expense reduction analyst to Era Group. And for those who've been around a while, it's been a hard work expense reduction analyst, but we're not. As part of the rebrand, it was really looking at what is it that we do? And here's the beauty. We've been around for 32 years. We're in 64 countries, 1,000 consultants. Can you imagine the data points that we've collected over the years? So we took those data points. We took the benchmarking, the indexes. We've got AI. We've got machine learning. And we built this machine. That's where cost intelligence came from. Our CEO, it was at our conference last year, and he was sitting in the middle. At the end, everyone had gone off either to their room or to go socialize. And I needed to chat with them. And he was sitting there in the room. And I went, jerkly. He says, I think we should be talking about cost intelligence because that's really what we do. And he went out and he owned that. We own that URL. And we've been slow to it. But it's really about what does that mean? Well, we built on value, not our time, which is typical consultancy work.
Right.
And that is the essence of what Era does.
That fits a lot. And this is definitely a people business. And this is a conversation you would think most small businesses would be open to having, doing a full analysis of their entire business, not just one key area, to see where there can be cuts, some cost savings, maybe some consolidation and things like that. So you would think business owners would be overly excited given the value proposition, the way that the proposal, the consultation works and things like that. One, I know the answer, but just for everyone listening in, a lot of people hear this and maybe it's the way I'm describing it, but they're like, you know what? I'm not an accountant. I don't run P&Ls and balance sheets. And I'll come back and say that this is not accounting. So talk to us a little bit about the areas that you're potentially able, the number of areas, maybe some ideas, some samples maybe of areas you can potentially save a small business on.
No, I love that question because you're right. There's a lot of confusion around our brand and understanding. And many people think it's a financial model.
Right.
It's not. It's not. It's a consulting model, which a lot of people think because cost is in there. We're looking at indirect costs of a business, pricing, process, and policy. Okay. And so when you look at the joint venture model, because all of the people who do the work in our business are joint venturing together from their expertises. And I'm just going to give you the U.S. because that's where we are, and that's what I'm overseeing is North America's. We have over 75 different areas of expertise here at ERA.
Wow.
And if you want to get granular, which you can, I would say it is between 200 and 300. What do I mean by that? Solar. You look at utilities. It could be oil. It could be electricity. It could be solar. Okay. You look at healthcare. It could be senior. It could be operations. It could be equipment. It could be dental. And we have that breadth of expertise. And you might have someone out there who's coming from a marketing background and they're like, I cannot imagine getting another job. I'm just done. They could be a great candidate. You might have someone who has been in the SaaS area. They could be a great candidate as long as they enjoy talking with people. Who's not the best candidate for us is someone who likes spreadsheets more than people.
You don't need to be an expert. It sounds like ERA will train you in all these areas. The joint venture, if I understood correctly, you're working with other franchisees across the country in order to help with those specific areas. And I don't know if you can share this, and if not, that's okay. But are you able to share, what does this cost? Is there even a cost for the analysis? Is there anything you can share?
I can share anything you ask me today.
Let's do it. Let's share it.
We're sharing. No, that's the beauty. We have a promise to our potential client that we will give you an assessment because we know there's a couple exceptions and they're very well-known nonprofits that we've looked at, but that's it. And I can say this with a lot of confidence. There isn't a business out there today that doesn't have opportunities that we can help with. And we're typically focused on that 10 million to 250 million, all the way up into the billions. As we're looking at their business, we have all those data points that I was talking to you about. All we need is their general ledger and P&L. Now, of course, there's some categorization and sometimes there's some back and forth, but it's fairly easy. We can put that into our machine and we can bring that back and show them their business in a way that they cannot have all systems connecting. And so we can have some great dialogue with them. And so it's not even a hard sell for us. Then it becomes, these are the areas of the biggest opportunity. We could get started on them today. Going back to our expertises, and we just had a group validation call. We have a guy who does ingredients, food ingredients. Getting down, and we were talking about bread. And he was talking about an ingredient that the client was using was a pharmaceutical grade. They didn't know that. So they were always doing what they had always done. So he came in and said, this product is equivalent and it costs $2,000 less a barrel. And they were buying millions of barrels.
That's, sometimes you don't even realize it's something, you're missing that, something as simple as that. And that's just one area.
So that level of expertise is what we can bring to a client who thinks of an ingredient expert in cost intelligence. But that's the scope and the breadth that we can bring. You think of sea freight. When all those boats were sitting out in California, we saw it on the news in 2020, our clients weren't dealing with that because our experts knew those things were coming before they were, and they knew how to move around them. So our clients, that Eric's client, did not have the disruption that much of the rest of the United States was dealing with.
That's amazing. What does it look like for the client that is open to that? Sounds like a free analysis. And then can you share costs, or what does that look like?
So we share in the savings.
Gotcha.
So if we save a business $1 million a year, we share 50% of that. And when I say we, I mean our franchise owners,
Right.
and their collective group. That's how it works. And so a good way to think about it is when we go in and work with a client, here's their level of expenses. You take all their line items and you group them. Here's their expenses. When we come in and we do our work, now their expenses are here. So we bill on that gap for the next 3 years, and we share in that savings with that client so they can take that 50% and push it into their business in a very strategic manner to either hire more people, invest in technology, grow their footprint, whatever is their, take some more profit, whatever is their goal.
Love that. Yeah, that's huge. And what business isn't looking in an up or down market looking to save expenses and lower their costs? So I really like that.
Add one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to your potential client, this is the beauty too, because as we bill on value to our client, our franchisees benefit from the value to their bank account. And how much time are they spending? Are they grinding out a 40-hour week for that? No, they're not. And we will monitor it, but there's very little time that gets invested into this on the long term. It's more heavy up front, but then we're staying there as a continual advisor monitoring. And so this isn't a 40-hour a week grinded out. Of course, I don't want to use that word passive investment because we want our owners to be in the business, but they're not sitting at a desk for 40 hours a week. They're not doing it.
And because you're essentially doing all the work up front and creating, correct me if I'm wrong, these are annuities away. So you're saving if it's lowering, just to keep it simple, that ingredient, and it's 100,000 every single month. It may be 100,000 for however length of time that the agreement is based upon. So the work is done up front, and then you're essentially getting those. As long as they're getting the savings, you're getting
and
half
because
of
of the joint venture.
Yep.
Because someone else that they partnered with is doing that work.
Right.
And then because they brought the client and they own the relationship and they put that team together, they're benefiting from watching their team members. And typically we're signing 5 projects with every client or more. So you got 5 people doing work that you as the franchise owner are benefiting from them doing that work.
And it has really just taken this brand to a different level in the market. We, like I mentioned, we started out in May of 22 with 6 locations, and today we proudly are 125 locations across 39 states and over 400 territories.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I didn't realize just 6 in just basically 3 years ago. So that's
3 years ago. I know. Just had my anniversary last weekend.
Yes. Well, congratulations. So that congratulations. Happy Mother's Day. You hit them all this month. So it's, that is absolutely amazing. I guess for the audience, not familiar with Resto Pros, maybe just, who is Resto Pros? What does Resto Pros offer?
Sure. Resto Pros is a mitigation company. And so mitigation, meaning there was damage, it might have been caused by water, fire, mold, smoke, storm damage, could have been, a bathroom overflow. It is where it just cannot be remediated with just a house fan or a towel. You're soaking up some damage or just removing it. It is really where we have to go in, remove the damaged material, whether it's commercial or residential, into a safe environment. And then some of our locations take that service a little bit further. We always say we have to start out with mitigation, right? We've got to clear everything out. and some of our locations now have brought on rebuild to make sure that property can be restored to its original condition.
Gotcha. And with Resto Pros, there was, I'm not sure of the date, and this is a question I had for you, but Be Rugged Brands. Tell us a little bit about that and maybe any of the other brands that fall into that parent company or that umbrella.
Absolutely. So, because of the success with Resto Pros and the team behind that success, our founder is a very innovative individual, and we really did. When you have something really good, you've got the secret sauce. We've got the boilerplate, and more than anything, we had the vision of services and home services we wanted to bring to our markets in surrounding communities. And so Alex developed a company, a parent company called Be Rugged Brands, and that is going to house our different home services brands that we have. I joke with him because our first two brands, even though they are needed, one is a needs-based, one is a wants-based. But they are a very dirty business. Resto Pro, again, we're cleaning out damage. We are sometimes in sewer and what we call in this business category 3. You would not drink it. You would not want to sit in it. You would not. It's bad. It's contaminated. You've got to clean everything that it has touched. The second brand that we have recently launched is called Scoop Brothers. And Scoop Brothers is going to be a pet waste valet service. We are going to be able to service both residential and commercial, and along with pet waste removal, scooping it, if you so inclined to, categories like that. We are able to put in the commercial pods, that you see, the pet waste pods that go around, and we will be able to service those also with installation or maintenance on them.
Awesome. And what is the, so with Be Rugged, so that, what is the plan, I guess, going forward? Is it to, you said, kind of keep it all? Is it going to be, jokingly, you said, the two brands, there's similarities between the two.
The cleanliness.
What does the future, for the brand look like?
It does. We are going to look at some more home services brands that really are more of a either a subscription based model, that it's reoccurring, and or needs based. We really have a niche in this emergency services through quality of work, reaction and response time, and just how we deliver things to insurance and to our customers, as far as estimates, quality of work, and really it's through documentation. We have just taken Resto Pros and what we can build onto it with technology. We've got Matterport, where we scan the whole house and the property. And when's the last time you did inventory of your house? Right. It is just it's a leave behind link that I know I haven't. Just being able, if something ever happened, we have some technology. If we did services at your house, that we would be able to scan and be able to store those, or send you the link as a homeowner, so that you had it after we were done. But really, and when it comes to Be Rugged, it is. We really want to attract brands that are needs based, and that we can have multi, with that. And we've got some benefits that will also, as we use one for one brand, we can use it in another. We should see some of those savings across the whole company.
I like that. Yeah, because sometimes people ask, is it better to stick with one brand, add a complementary brand? And there's pros and cons. There's differences. I don't even like to say pros and cons. I like to say there's differences. And sometimes the options may not be there. Maybe an instance where the territory was sold around you, and now you're looking at a complementary brand. So it's good to have those options, because I always encourage everyone to kind of think out, what do the next 5 or 10 years look like? Are you looking for a quicker exit? Are you looking to kind of create a legacy for your family? So these are all things I have them maybe not necessarily deciding on day one, but just thinking about as you kind of expand their business. So that's a big one. In our last conversation, one thing that really attracted me to Resto Pros, and we've helped quite a few people move forward specifically with Resto Pros, is the support. And not only support, but the lines of communication are completely open. Checking in with franchisees and things like that, which I think is a major differentiator. We speak with numerous brands, and the level of support is definitely on the high end, knowing kind of what's going on with each franchisee, what their thoughts, where their needs are, what their struggles are. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because you hear, and it's been, I believe, in a way, overused, responsible franchising. Well, what is that? And I've seen it kind of take all these different directions, but it really boils down to support and communication. So can you expand a little bit on, or elaborate a little bit on, how you work with your franchisees?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tell you, our level of support almost came by default. I probably was a little bit of a unicorn because I had zero franchise experience. All I knew is that there was an owner, they invested money, and we needed to support them.
Right.
No one told me that, we could suggest some things. Nobody said, hey, I came from a business where we owned these properties. We owned these entities, and it was, over 100 locations across the US. And so if something didn't work out, you went to that location, you supported the team that was there, you put action plans in place. And, we just kind of said, hey, we're going to follow up with you, and we're going to right the ship, and we're going to keep moving. Well, in franchising, I said, well, we're going to go support them. We're going to put people in the market. We're going to put people in the field. We're going to have meaningful conversations with our owners, because they just didn't buy this franchise to let it sit on the shelf. Text message, our phones are always open. Our doors are always open. But to become a better brand, we need to hear from our owners, right, wrong, or indifferent. And as long as you can accept that openness and not know that, you're the master of all the answers, I think your brand can continue to grow in a positive manner. And then it leads, really to some ownership on our owners, right? For example, something came up and I said, did you let anybody know? Well, no. Why not? Well, I didn't know if it would really affect anybody. Well, actually, let's put it out there. You bring a problem to me, I'm going to ask our franchise performance directors. A lot of people in this world call them coaches. But they are responsible for between 30 and 35 locations per FPD in our organization, and they are there to just focus on those locations and being able to help. So I think the more that we can communicate to them, hey, put this out to your division or your region, see if they're having these same things, then it's easier to move that needle to correct anything that we need to address.
Love it. Yeah, that's it sounds so basic and so simple, but you guys do a really good job. And even prior to that, it's just this is the anxiety levels are really high. You don't know what you don't know. I know when I started over 20 years, close to 20 years ago in franchising, there was all these things on my mind. Who do I hire? Who do I get for payroll? When do I set up my legal entity? What about all the other legal documents? Do I need a franchise attorney? There's so many moving parts, and we help where we can. But I like that you kind of have that checklist. Putting yourself in their shoes. Basically, many of them have never owned the business before, so really giving them kind of step by step, as you mentioned. These are the things you have to do, and maybe not throwing it all on their plate. Just saying maybe these are the first 5 things you need to do, and kind of break it down, because it does become overwhelming if you've never done it before. And some people may be still transitioning out of a job, or maybe they just left their job, but they got they're kind of prioritizing everything. When do I order the truck? When do I start hiring employees? So that roadmap, that guide, I think is crucial, and it definitely helps with the nerves and helping them make better decisions. In that we kind of have a plan, and these are the 5 items we have to tackle this week. So that's a big part, and those are some of the questions and that I get concerns like, where the heck do I even start? And I go, well, the franchisor will assist you in that process. What else stands out to you from a support standpoint with Resto Pro? We'll call it Be Rugged, because you have multiple brands that really go over and beyond supporting franchise owners. There a lot of these owners are first time owners. So what else from a support standpoint are you offering to kind of assist them?
I do think I think what sets us apart and what allows us to support is the camaraderie and the care, right? I am not just here to take a royalty. We have always said that we want these brands to change people's lives, right? They were doing what they were doing. They invested their money in something, and we want to give them the roadmap to be able to be successful. And I think listening, being innovative. I always tell people, they're like, wow, the training for when we started as an early adopter 0 to 30 looks completely different now at 105 and 110 and things like that.
I'll encourage my candidates, like, Google blind repair near me, right? And it's very rare that they find a lot of options out there. So it does get us into more homes. And then lastly, technology. Kelsey touched on the idea that the window coverings is just the widget. Well, the other piece of the brand is that they are technology heavy. Anytime somebody who's jazzed about technology, jazzed about AI, this is a brand you should really consider, because it's a simple widget, but the technology that is the engine behind it is really significant. And it's an area that the brand's making significant investments in. And Kelsey, you probably want to expand on that a little bit more.
Well, on the technology side in particular, early last year, early 24, we just kind of sat around in one of our leadership meetings, and the concept was like, do we really believe that AI is going to be the future? Is there an opportunity to get the brand ahead of the curve to start adopting and bringing on these pieces before the rest of the world? And can that get us in a position where we have like a defense as the world shifts and businesses go up and down? Anytime you can kind of create a moat around you, like that's an opportunity that has to be evaluated. So we dove in, but in particular, we decided to build out our own AI system. So instead of renting, a lot of people are using AI right now, renting other people's business or renting their models or their information. That means their programs are getting smarter, not yours. So we partnered with a company. We had our own AI built out of our own data. We're almost complete with a full tech stack that sits on top of that. So the AI is actually learning from virtually every twitch of the business. And that becomes the base on how the franchisees operate their business. It also becomes the base on how the clients interact with us from a marketing standpoint or in the house doing consults. And by continually growing our data set, I firmly believe it's going to put us in a position where we can react and improve upon data, and our really kind of comes down to marketing and efficiency in a way that even once everyone decides that this is the right path, we'll already have a head start. And so even when they start moving as fast as we do, they won't be able to catch up because we're then running at the same speed. Right. We've just been doing it longer.
I like that. The AI conversations have definitely hit home with people. We've noticed a lot more views on those conversations or those kind of segments or snippets. And to your point, owning it, I think people don't realize there's nothing free in this world. And when you're using free AI, I've tested some platforms as well, friends of friends. I'm basically almost like the guinea pig in a way. I'm putting my information in, they're gathering it. So although I'm not paying, I'm technically paying with my time and not building something for myself. So I do have somewhat of a free service, but I'm not building anything. And I think that That just is AI taking over. I don't think it's taking over. I think we all have to step up and use it somewhat in our businesses. I know we've cut our marketing spend down by using AI with a couple agencies that we've used. I think it's a must to use, but I don't think AI is going to replace everything. So I like that. Can you talk a little bit? I mean, I know you said it's being launched. Can you talk specifically on any aspects of it, or is that?
Yeah, I nothing. In the long run, a lot of it is the stuff that humans do. We're just doing it with either automation or with more sensitivity and data. Is really kind of where AI gets its superpower, is when it's finally got enough data that it can create what's called predictive analytics.
Mhm.
Most of the data in today's world is looking backwards. It's what happened, how that happened, and now how do I analyze and guess on how to make it better? AI gets really valuable when it almost gets to a level where it can almost predict at a high degree of certainty what's going to happen. So a couple pieces that'll be actionable for the franchise owners. Our call center will be ran by AI voice agents. We will have people in the background. So if the AI gets stumped or it doesn't know the answer, I've got people sitting there ready to pick up the phone live. But it's going to allow us to answer the phone 24/7, 365, snow days. We're still answering the phones.
So answer the phone, right?
Right. Right now, I've got 7 people who work in a call center. They're taking phone calls. I mean, this is like in my office, 30 feet behind me. But what happens when there's 8 phone calls? Somebody's got to wait. And this thing, it's programmed to take up to 250 calls at once. It can do some
Amazing.
Yeah, to be able to do smart scheduling. So like we're very route based or geographically based. Drive time is a waste for us. And so being able to present options to customers in like basically a very smart routing suggestion. Like we only give customers options that are geographically appropriate for us with the right people with the right skill sets. My favorite example, and I've already seen this in action, is we use iPads. We're not using, I can't build AI and still use a notepad.
Right.
We're on iPads. And as the customer is, or as we're having a conversation about how they want the room dark at 7:30 on a summer night because the kids got to go to bed, but they don't want strings and they want to be able to push a button to make it go up and down. The AI system is listening to these descriptions and beginning to populate the products and the manufacturers and the follow-up questions that match that active conversation. So in real time, the AI is presenting the products and the real value that the homeowner is going to think it's cool. But for a new franchise owner or a new employee who hasn't yet learned all the variables and hasn't really mastered the trade yet, we can give them the ability to feel and look like an expert because they don't have to have all that knowledge in their mind. We're going to present it to them so that they can just work with the information that's already in front of them.
That's impressive. This is it, guys. This is what the future is looking like. And the AI doesn't need, as you mentioned, snow days, not feeling well. We lost power. My AI, I'm also setting up something on my end. If we lose power, it doesn't matter. It's not running from my home.
Like, what do they get? What support is there? Kind of. So to go back on that, because I think that's a really important topic, we kind of build all the systems with the overarching concept. There's going to be a lot to do, but you're not going to have to figure out what to do.
Right.
And by that, again, we do really enjoy that first time business owner. And so we know that in that environment, there's a lot of questions on like, how do I get this set up? How do I do my marketing? Who do I talk to? What do I say? And for one reason or another, we've just really gravitated toward that coaching role of walking people through that stage. The business setup, the infrastructure of it, the business checking account, how do I, all these little elements of setting up a business, we walk candidates through that. The marketing can be broken up into 2 categories. You have your digital presence, and then you have like your community interaction. The digital side, we pretty well automate that for the owners. In fact, we've got AI running SEO and PPC for owners. Pretty effective there. On the ground level, we'll tell you exactly where to go, who to talk to, how to get engaged, how to become known in the room. You're going to have to go do it, but you're not going to have to figure out what to do. And that's really kind of the theme throughout the first year of the business is most of these things are going to be brand new to you.
Right.
And you're going to have someone who's excited and willing and wanting to walk with you during that, kind of saying, hey, go over here, now go over here, now do this thing and now do that thing. You have to execute on it, but we will walk with you and kind of point you in the way so that you can at least head forward with some confidence, knowing where you're supposed to go and what it's supposed to look like when you get there.
I like that. And that's what people are looking for. I think that I had someone just say, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. And they were only on after the second call. And I said, well, the franchisor is, and you have to ask these questions, what is included, what they will help you with kind of step by step. These are the questions to be asking. We haven't made a decision on the brand yet, but you want to find out the support. And as we mentioned, first-time business owner, it is extremely overwhelming because you don't know what you don't know. You don't even know the questions to ask or the things to do. What are these legal entities? How do I set them up? Who does that? Do I do them online or the attorney? So I get it. But there you go. That'll be my last interview. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, just for someone to say that really bothered me. I mean, I'm sure he misunderstood, but it's kind of bothersome if that actually was said, or maybe it was taken out of context. Who knows? But
Having said all that, I think there's one point that I want to bring up on Bloomit. And there's in the FDD, which I just mentioned, which is the franchise disclosure document, the very large legal reading that every brand has. There's a section in that called the item 19, and that's financial performance representations on that specific brand. And when they're not all created equal, right? The amount of information a franchise system wants to put in there can be varying widely. And I think I'm really blessed to work on a brand that Kelsey and his family have decided to put a tremendous amount of information. There's 13 tables of information. There's 7 different P&Ls. We show you consolidated P&Ls for a single van owner versus a multi-van owner. So you can say, hey, why would I not want to scale my business down the road, right? We even show you a consolidated P&L for our owners for whom in that calendar year, that was their first full year of operation with us. So you can see what brand new owners are doing with us.
It's not executing for you. You need to follow the blueprint, the process. And I think some people don't. They just think they invest and the business kind of runs on itself. I haven't found that business yet, but I'll keep looking. But to my knowledge, it doesn't exist.
But I think Kelsey brings up a good point when you're talking about some of our franchisees and some of our success stories. One of the important things that you should be doing when you're vetting any franchise opportunity is having an opportunity not only to speak to the leadership team, you've got to get to know people like Kelsey and his brothers. And we put them up every week on calls that our candidates can join in on. But we do the same thing with our franchisees. And Blue Moon is very fortunate to have a wide variety of franchisees on our validation calls, is what we call them, Giuseppe. And so each week we hold 1-hour Zoom calls, open format Q&A for them to just talk to a franchisee. Like, what are your pain points? What are the things that you've got challenges? Would you do this all over again? Where are you having success? What are your growth plans looking like? Are you meeting those? If not, how is anybody helping you with that, right? Bring those questions. But we put brand new owners. We've got 2 owners that just opened with us in 2024. So people can talk about, like, what does it look like the last few months for you? We've got legacy owners, some of our most successful owners that are in the system. The gentleman that Kelsey just mentioned validates with us and can talk about scaling his business. So we've got people that have come from all walks of life, and they've got all different stories. They've got different territory sizes. Some are in big major metros, some are in smaller. So there's really, you can see yourself in a little bit of different franchisees, but we highly encourage, like, you've got to talk to franchisees to understand from their perspective, is this something that you really want to dive into and do? And I often say, if you're not on those validation calls, or at least making some calls of your own, like, we don't really look at you as a serious candidate, because without validation, you can't really determine if the vision you have in your head or the stories that we've shared with you really make sense for you, and validate that this is the opportunity that you want to move forward with. It also gives us a chance to get to know the franchise candidates on a very different level as well. They get time to spend with the leadership team, and they, along with myself, can kind of pre-vet them before we have them out to Dallas to meet the team eventually. Right.
You would think that's common sense. I know for me, it was complete common sense to speak with other franchisees, but it's not. You need to really, you need to remind. I've been shocked. I've had people come in.
That's so hard.
It's why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I tell my candidates quite frankly, look, if you're a couple of weeks in, you're not on any validation or leadership calls, I'm going to assume you're not interested in this brand. right? And I get it. Life happens. There's all kinds of things that will happen that prevent people from being on calls. But, the fact that you're working, or the fact that you've got kids in the evening, or the fact that none of those are enough. You're looking at being a business owner. You're going to have to juggle responsibilities. You're going to be investing in your time. If you can't do that now,
This is the easy part. Running a business is going to be a lot. If you can't handle validation and research of a brand, how are you going to manage an entire business? So yeah, it's the 3 stages. I always say you talk with the franchisor, you learn about the brand, you talk to the franchisee's validation, and then stage 3 is you talk to the captain steering the ship. You talk to the franchisor directly, virtually, in person at a discovery, meet the team day, or some brands aren't even doing that. They're doing that within their due diligence calls, and just asking, where is the ship going? What are we adding revenue streams? What others talking about AI? This is something new that we're going to be adding on. There's an added cost. There isn't a cost. This is included here, or we're changing something else up. But you have to have that complete picture, in my opinion, to be comfortable with it and to make the best informed decision. All stages equally important. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you as the consultant and myself as the franchise development person are not going to be part of the picture. The relationship lies with the franchise system, with the franchisor. If you haven't invested in them, if that's not where you're making your decision based on that interaction, that potential relationship, that's problematic.
Absolutely.
You and I are going to be gone.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.